Hello, Year Nines. Welcome to the fourth lesson and final lesson of this little topic about body systems and how they work together to maintain homeostasis in the body and about our feedback mechanisms that we've learnt about. So today is going to be an opportunity for us to revisit and recap on all the things that we've learnt in the last few weeks, and then also an opportunity for you to show me how much you've learnt and apply some of this knowledge to your real life and have a bit of understanding there. Okay, so we'll run through a few of those things and then we'll be moving on to our next subject, next lesson. So today, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain how multiple body systems interact to maintain homeostasis. You'll be able to analyze a scenario and identify the stimulus, receptors, control, effectors, and feedback loop involved, justify your reasoning using scientific terminology, and evaluate what happens when a feedback loop fails. So to start with, let's do a little bit of revision on our feedback mechanisms. So remember that these feedback mechanisms, whether negative or positive, are processes in our body that help the body maintain homeostasis, so that balance, by regulating our internal conditions. So it's a crucial function so that our bodies don't fail and that we don't get sick and that we're able to reset back to what's normal and optimal for our bodies to work. So these things are temperature regulation, hormone levels, overall stability within the body, and lots of other things which we're going to explore today. So remember our little flow chart here to remind you the parts of a feedback mechanism. So we've got our stimulus, so that's the part that's detecting that is causing the change. We have our sensor, which detects the change. We've got the control, which is usually in our brain, the hypothalamus, which says, okay, this is not good, we need to do something about it. And then we've got the effector, which is the part that is going to cause the response to happen. And then it goes back and tells the sensor whether it's fixed or whether it needs to continue on, or whether we need to continue with whatever changes are happening in the body to get back to homeostasis. So a recap of our nervous, endocrine, and immune systems. Remember back in lesson 1, we talked about this. So our nervous system is our rapid response center. So this is where the immediate responses to any changes occur. So we have our electrical signals that travel through neurons. Remember, it's a bit like electricity going through electrical wires, and it allows for quick adjustments to any stimuli, such as pain or temperature changes. Now, endocrine system is our hormonal regulation, and this is a little bit slower response, but longer duration. So our hormones are released into the bloodstream and travel to the target cells for a response to occur. And this then influences processes that are more of a long-term thing, so growth, metabolism, and mood. But sometimes things like adrenaline can jump in just to help us with that initial response and works alongside the nervous system to help that happen. And then we have the immune system, and that's our body's defense to things like harmful pathogens, so bacteria, viruses, and we have lots of cells that work together to identify and eliminate any threats. Now, for the next lesson and the next topic that we move into, we're going to focus much more heavily on the immune system and infectious and non-infectious diseases, but it does play a role in all of the homeostasis and our feedback mechanisms as well. So just keep that in mind, but be aware that we will be diving further into all of that. Okay, so remembering that we've got two types of feedback mechanisms. So we've got our positive feedback, which is where whatever's response is occurring in the body, it's amplifying a change that is good for the body. So for example, mum having a baby, we want those contractions to continue and to get stronger so that the baby is born. And so this is where, baby's head is pushing against the cervix, and it sends that message up to the brain to say release oxytocin. So the oxytocin can increase the intensity of contractions, and it allows baby's head to continue pushing down onto the cervix, goes back to the brain, continues releasing more oxytocin until that baby is born, and then the stimulus is now no longer there because the baby's head is no longer pushing against the cervix, and it stops. But this is amplifying the change. It's making it happen more so that we have a process that can continue and doesn't just stall. Because if oxytocin didn't continue to get released, the contractions would stop and baby would be born. Our negative feedback, this is the one that we have in our body that allows us to maintain stability. Remembering negative doesn't mean bad. It just means that it allows a change to happen, and then once it's fixed, it stops. So this is where we're counteracting any deviations that are occurring in the body. So if we're moving away from our ideal state, so remember we talked about temperature last lesson. So if our temperature is too hot or too cold, a message gets sent to the brain to either vasodilate and sweat to cool down, or vasoconstrict and shiver to warm up. And then once our temperature gets back to normal, the message gets sent back to the brain to go, okay, yeah, we're good now. We can stop this process. And that's why it's a negative feedback. So now we have an opportunity for you to start putting this into practice. So we've got some case studies, and I want you to work through these at your own pace. So we're going to run through it, and then I'll get you to pause and work through. So we have 3 case studies. We've got heat stroke during sport, we've got viral infection causing fever, and we've got low blood sugar during the exam. Now, we did talk a little bit about heat stroke last week and about thermoregulation, so that one will probably be familiar to you now. But for the other 2, you might need to do a little bit of research, okay? So we've got 5 questions. So number 1, what was the stimulus? 2, which system detected the change? So nervous, endocrine, immune. 3, which system acted in response? Again, out of those 3 systems. What type of feedback mechanism was involved? Was it a positive or a negative feedback? And number 5, if there was any, where did the failure occur? Okay, so I want you to work through this. So head to our Padlet using the QR code or the website at the top here. And there's the 3 case studies with the questions underneath. And I want you to spend some time doing this, probably about maybe 10, 15 minutes, and answer the questions. And then I'll be able to see your answers, and we'll go through that together as well. And at the beginning of our next lesson, we'll run through some of those questions. Okay, but take a little bit of time to work on that. So pause the video here and then come back when you're done. Our final activity for today and for this topic is we're going to do a bit of a choose your own adventure. So we just went through those 3 case studies, remember? So we got heat stroke, fever due to a viral infection, and low blood sugar. I now want you to choose one of those to work on and choose one of these options, okay? So you can choose either option 1, 2, or 3 based on your choice of case studies, okay? So the first one, the option 1, this is sort of your basic explanation, all right? And as you move up to the options, it gets a little bit more complex, and so you get to choose which one you want to do here. So we've got our mild, medium, and more challenging up here. So option 1 is our cause and effect. So remembering cause is the reason for something happening. The effect is what happened, and cause and effect, why did it happen? So for example, if you choose your heat stroke during sport, the cause was they're doing sport and they got really hot, and so the effect was that they got way too hot and ended up with heat stroke. But what I want you to do is now try and explain the cause and effect. Why did this happen? Explain how the stimulus led to the final outcome. What's happened inside the body. Option number 2 is our failure point diagnosis. So whereabouts in your homeostasis system did it fail for these things to happen? And I want you to justify your reasoning. Why do you think that's the case? Why did it fail there? And where's the evidence that shows that that's where it failed? And number 3, I want you to propose, or this is your final choice, propose a solution or an intervention that would restore homeostasis and explain how this might work. So you need to understand the cause and effect, understand the failure point, and now you're going to come up with an idea of how to fix that. All right. So for this one, I want you to head to our Canva page, and you'll see this as the first page here. You can use the website up there, and then you're going to add another slide under each thing for your choice. Okay, so just to confirm, you're going to choose one of the 3 case studies, so either the heat stroke, the viral infection and fever, or low blood sugar, and then you're going to choose one of these options to answer these questions, just one. Okay, so take some time. This might take a little while, so maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you need, and add a slide onto our Canva so that we can go through that and develop our own little presentation on it. So pause now and take your time doing that. I hope that activity was helpful and it's starting to make more sense about feedback mechanisms and why they're so important in our body, and start understanding how they're actually working in different aspects of our lives, and that really they're happening every day so that we are healthy and we're strong and we can do what we need to do. So this topic is so important because feedback mechanisms are so essential for us to maintain homeostasis. If our bodies can't maintain homeostasis, we'll get sick and potentially our bodies will just stop working and we could die. So feedback mechanisms regulate various physiological processes, so we know about our childbirth, our temperature regulation, our water regulation, our blood sugars, fevers when we get sick. Okay, our systems need to function optimally, and so feedback mechanisms allow us to function properly. So understanding these mechanisms help us appreciate the complexity of our biological systems, but also emphasize the significance in the feedback for our body when we're making decisions about our body, our health, and all our interactions. So I hope that this topic has been helpful. Please reach out if there's anything that you're kind of stuck on. I look forward to reading your responses to the case studies and to the Choose Your Own Adventure. And I'll catch up with you for our next topic. Bye.